record, and I think I'm going to *6 myself. But first, howdy y'all. This is Andy McCabe, your Restoration Rebel leader. I'm going to read the agreements, and then I'm going to hand it over to Klark. We're going to have a different format tonight from what we usually do. We're not going to have a round robin per se. We will have some time for question and answers after, but Clark's going to run the show and tell us about large loss stuff and his vast experience. But first, our mission is to restore lives and livelihoods when disaster strikes. Agreement number 1, I will protect the value of my services by never giving them away. Agreement number 2, I will practice incredible transparency and honesty in communications with those I deal with on a daily basis. Agreement number 3, I do not believe in competition. Agreement number 4, I am willing to walk away from any project, client, or agreement that is not compatible with my company and personal values and stated mission. All right, Klark, you've got, I want you to give everyone a background on what your experience is as far as large losses go, and then go into whatever you wanted to talk about tonight, and I'm going to mute myself. Thanks, man.
Okay, very well. I'd like to start off in reverse, and I'd like everyone to marinate over standard number 4, that I will not take or pursue any work that doesn't match my company's whatever. I think this conversation, I'm only going to talk about my background as it may or may not relate to hold any validity about what I have to say. I want to start this the way I commented in the post that was put up with this link. I don't like the word guru. I don't like the word expert. I don't like the word industry badass or whatever it is. I think I know what I know. I didn't know before what I didn't know until I learned it. And I think I have a lot more to learn. I'm as humble as I can be. And I'm a big believer in 2 things. That actions speak louder than words. I don't tell people how awesome I am. I show myself and others how awesome I am. And I do believe that Michael Jordan never had to tell anybody how good he was. I think he just did it. He showed up and did his job every day. So I'd like to get past that. Yes, I have a unique background in, until currently, I had a reverse career. I started in this business about 15 years ago and started off day 1 in large loss. And I want to pause for a minute and tell everybody that large loss is a very subjective word. What I consider large loss in 2001 and today are 2 different things. What Bob consider large loss. So if I'm a $1.2 million a year residential, some small commercial entity, a $30,000 could seem like a large loss to me. And meaning I'm going to put the resources and the equipment and the experience and honestly the upfront money into that I have. Another company that does $5.2 million a year, $30,000 job is not large loss. So in terms of scale, I think when we throw around the word large loss and things like that, it's just so irrelevant to the industry. So that said, I started in 2001 with the company out of Houston, Texas, was propelled immediately to Memphis, Tennessee, where there had been some type of I don't even remember if it was some type of tropical event that caused tornadoes to come through Memphis and ripped up Beale Street and blew my mind. I didn't know how I was going to get through the first couple of days. No food, not eating, driving from Houston to Memphis on no sleep and not knowing what I was going to do. So I literally was indoctrinated into large loss by setting up to be a failure. But I had enough emotional intelligence and IQ that I think I faked it till I made it. Got through. Nobody died. Client didn't kill us. So it was a success. Any large project that I've ever started, I walked into after that time knowing I walked into the very first job. Can somebody push mute? I'm getting a lot of feedback. Um, it's always going to be chaos day 1, 2, maybe day 3. Area that's disaster torn. So always know that it's not personal. Take it one day at a time, one bite at a time. Be as smart and diligent as you can and move forward. 2001 through 2005, Katrina hit. I went through all 4 hurricanes in Florida. Again, every single job I learned something else. I learned something new. I attached and latched on to people that knew a lot more than I did. I think everybody on this phone call is probably a business owner and an entrepreneur, and everyone can understand that that mentors and we always reproduce and duplicate what we learn in this industry. And that's why this industry, it looks like it did 50 years ago, because it's been a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. There's not a ton of original thought or intellectual property that's changed. So hurricanes in Florida, there were 4 of them. Katrina, of course. I was lucky enough to work on a very, very large project called the BP oil spill. Don't ask me why. It's a long story, but I built out $126 million over 14 and a half months. At one point, we had 1,400 people working in 4 states. It was never 1,400 people. It was never one big project. It was 100 small projects. So I broke it down. I learned that trick from someone else. It's never one big project. It's always a lot of small projects. Set up your org chart. Set up your chain of command, military style if you want to. On and on. In between the years when there weren't disasters, you got big, large. I worked for large companies. I worked for some of the big ones in the industry, Cotton, BMS, and Interstate. Never worked for Belfour. Know everybody at Belfour, but had a lot of good opportunity. Had great time. Worked on a lot of big jobs, tornadoes, floods, fires. Did some international jobs. Blah, blah, blah is great. So I never really had to mobilize with my own money, with my own small company, with my small fleet, small amount of equipment, with daily business that's back home to worry about. So I can't speak on the topic that seems to be occupying, I guess we'd call it the Facebook and the chatter over the last couple of days. That is by far probably monopolized the conversation. Is I want to go to Houston. I want to jump in. I want to get into it. I want to help, which is the good side, the humanitarian. And I think we're all in that mindset that we want to help, and then the money will come. And I think that's the noble approach of that. There's lots of chatter on the forums, some of it helpful. A couple of threads, a couple of posts kind of went south. And I think just in things, and it's just how people see things and perceive them. Different people have different backgrounds and feel like small guy from Iowa should not mobilize down there because he's in over his head. Listen, I think it comes from a place where that person probably was trying to help someone, but it came across wrong. And then it spun off into another thread gets started in response to that one. And then it's a domino effect. And I think it turned negative, it turned south, and then it turned into like everybody, like this whole reason that we're doing 2.0, the rebel army, the tribe, whatever we want to call this, was supposed to be a synergy, was supposed to be a unionization. It was supposed to be a collaboration of a different mindset. Rule number 3, there's no competitors. I think in the last couple of days, as the heightened awareness came about that this is the largest event that we've seen at least in 12 years, maybe in the last couple of decades, I don't know. That's still going to be failed. We reverted back to that portion of us where we all just went into a fight or flight mode. I'm going to go get mine. I'm going to get this opportunity. And again, this conversation doesn't need to be about does ABC company from Iowa or New Jersey need to mobilize. I don't know. I read an article right before had dinner with a friend tonight. I'm working on a business, a collaboration here in my own market with my company. And I read before I made this call, I was trying to collect my thoughts. And forgive me if I say his name wrong. Drew, I saw you were on the thread. Bill Giannone or Giannone. I don't know him, but did you see that, Drew?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know the gentleman at all. I know he mentioned Whitney. He's got a consulting business. They've worked together. He wrote a very good blog or an article that really kind of encapsulates this whole conversation is go or don't go. It's really going to be your call. But if you really, really are in interest of learning and absorbing and sponging, go ahead and listen to stories from people that have done it and succeeded and failed, and then make up your own mind for your own business if it's the right thing. I don't know if there is a right or wrong answer. I will tell you that I sat down with my principals. I don't own my own company. I'm a general manager and director of a large company. It's not I run it like it's mine, but it's not my money. So we sat down and we talked about last Sunday, are we going to Houston? No, it doesn't match my business model. And I want to talk about my conversation because I feel like some of you, it might resonate with some of the same conversations you've had with yourself, maybe your business partner, maybe your family member that's a partner, maybe your leader maybe you have a manager that works for you. What's the pro? What's the gain? What's the delta of what's the pro and the con? What's the gain, risk versus reward? Obviously money, it's revenue. It's that. That's a big one. It's like, hey, we can put $600,000 into our top line. Maybe it will be 90 days. Maybe it'll be 120 days. But okay, there's that. Do I have the staff that can do it? I've got a few people that are qualified. Do they want to? They've got families. It's a long way from me logistically. It's not. I'm in Richmond and in North Carolina and Maryland. It's not like it's in Myrtle Beach. It's in freaking Houston, Texas. It's 12 hours away. So an oh shit moment turns into I can't just run down there after lunch. It's an airplane ride, or it's an all-nighter on a road to go bail somebody out of jail. And that led me into this. Like, you get guys on the road that have never been on the road. I'm talking workers, technicians, maybe project managers and foremen. Per diem comes up. They're on the road. They're in Houston. Bars and restaurants start to open back up. They've got expendable cash. They're making big money. They're burnt out. They're stressed. They're in a strange place, and they're surrounded by people that are like patting them on the back. Thanks for what you're doing. You guys are heroes. And I'm telling you, I got free meals everywhere I went. And I would often say, I'm not a first responder. I'm not a guy restoring the power. I wouldn't take every free meal, but some people just would not let go and say, nope, you're eating here for free. Outback Steakhouse always fed contractors almost always for free. So you get guys on the road. You got John Doe that works for you. He's never been on the road. He's got a little extra money in his pocket. There's good-looking senoritas. The beer's cheap. He's exhausted. He misses home. He misses mama, or he misses daddy, or whatever it is. Guys start getting in trouble. It's not a guess, guys. I've seen it 100 times. And Robert, I think you've been on the road. I know, Drew, you have. You know what happens. It's a freedom. It's a leash that's not there. So that's another thing. I'm going to lose some people. Let's say you don't have that. I send 3 of my best guys down there. Guess what? Belfour, Interstate, BMS, Cotton. They find out there's quality dudes down there. They're going to snatch them up. Those guys are going to chase that money, and they're going to go work for more money for a short period of time, and we're going to lose them. How much equipment can I put towards it? I can put X amount of equipment. I don't have warehouses full of equipment. I have what I need because we spend responsibly. But I don't even have, so I send 50 dehumidifiers and 150 fans. Well, the kind of jobs that I would want to go down there to make it worth my while, that's a start. That's not going to get me where I need to be. That's one job. That's going to get me 3 rooms of an office complex. That's going to get me I mean, most jobs in there are going to be clean and desiccants and all that. But so there's equipment. Then I'm taking that away from my daily business here. Then there's the other thing, and I don't remember who said this, but this is something everyone needs to think about. So I live in a very populated area. My offices are D.C., Baltimore, Richmond, Virginia Beach, Charlotte, and Raleigh. Every city is going to have a handful of contractors driving to Texas. And guess who's not going to be able to answer their calls to get all of their jobs that are coming in from the property managers and the realtors and the adjusters? Those companies are going to have to say no, and that's not a guess. I've seen it happen. So we decided we're going to stay behind. We're going to tell all of our contacts we support Harvey. We're doing some donation stuff to it, but we're deciding to stay here. We're going to support the people that supported us all year long. If we have opportunities to help in Harvey, we will, but we're going to do it on a monetary basis. But I'm going to become a farmer instead of a hunter. Meaning, I'm not going to go down and hunt for my kill for this week. I'm going to plant seeds on relationships that I'm going to get to take advantage of, so that are going to be feeding me next year and the year after. So that was my decision this week on what I'm going to do. Believe me, guys, I could probably pack up, roll into Houston, and for 4 months, I could probably personally make $500,000. I kind of just know it. But it's okay. What
You're cutting out, Clark.
Yeah, cutting out, Clark.
away from a career, and I'm a leader in my company. I got people that can things. So, but I think Andy wanted me to. Hello.
Yeah,
How's that?
better. Yeah, it's better.
Okay, sorry about that. I muted and I turned it back on. So I went on.
You're breaking up again.
I hope I gave some insight. Low. It's okay. One more time.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's much better.
Hey, Clark, let's take a couple questions here. Once you log out and log back in, that was getting really bad there for a second. You there?
I think he just logged out.
Yeah,
he's gone.
That was getting pretty bad. All right, so who's got some feedback? Who's got some insight on what Clark has covered so far?
I think one thing I would add too, to speaking to his leaving home and leaving business behind, I for one don't have enough time to take care of the business I've got. I couldn't imagine leaving and going to Texas right now and still handling everything I've got here and all the new stuff in Texas and funding both of them at the same time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was just about to pull the trigger myself. I got asked to go for an adjusting company, and the money was good, but it wasn't good enough to cover the business I was going to lose here.
I'm the same way. I've got a contact out there that's ready for me to go out there and hand me jobs when I get there, but I don't have a place to stay. The equipment that I'm going to take with me is going to leave me bare here. I mean, it's just not worth it to wait 120 days or whatever to get all of your money plus cover all your expenses and then lose your market share when you get back.
Hey, I'm back, everyone.
Yeah, you got to front load it. Yeah. Go ahead, Clark.
No, I'm back. I overheard a little bit, but y'all, I missed any questions. You're right. I need to take some questions, and I don't know what I need to expand upon, but I hope that was some of the questions. But I think a lot of people here are going to kind of agree and relate that what's the risk versus reward. Now, if you've got a company that can do both, sure, take a ringer on it. But okay. Yeah.
There's going to be a certain amount of those folks that are going to take that advice and go one way or the other. Let's now, if you wouldn't mind, let's talk to the folks that have already pulled the trigger. Let's talk to the folks that are sitting outside of Houston right now waiting for the water to go down. What is what is some good strategies for them to use going forward? And I'm going to go ahead and mute myself again.
Well, I'd say, and again, I've never been in a position where I've had to sit and wonder if we were going to get a job. There was always phase 1 and phase 2 of storms, and this one is going to be no different. Phase 1 is pockets of town. I'm from Texas. I lived in Houston for many years, so I've got a little bit more knowledge of the geography and the landscape there. And landscape specifically is water will run off very fast. It collects fast, but they have a bayou and a water gate system that can run off. So now that they know it stopped raining, or at least tapered way off, you're going to see, and I think Luke, I don't know if Luke's on the phone, Luke posted a picture of I-10, was it yesterday and then today? Two different things. So water does go away. So quickly, because they're pull the trigger and go. Everybody's waiting for the bigger ones, the universities, the hospitals, the big office complexes, the stadiums, the et cetera, et cetera. I've got a colleague that's looking for 1,000 people for power plants, for plants and industrial buildings that are south of Houston, which is the oil and gas capital of America. So it's all there, all the big boys, Texaco, Chevron, Conoco, Valero, those places are underwater. So everybody's waiting on those. That's going to come back to the risk manager. So that's a couple days away. That's a week away before that's expected to go balls out. But the guys outside of town, I would just say, man, you just got to be really careful on your relationships and who you align with. There's a lot of snakes. There's a lot of people that have pockets that we're able to go pretend that there's somebody, and if they've got all these contracts, I've gotten no less. And Drew, I don't know if you have, I know Andy, you have, I've gotten 20 people calling me asking for large amounts of equipment, resources, and help. Just say, Clark, help me. I need X people. I need large equipment. I want to have this job. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's who's got ink, who's got a paper sign. Because what I'm finding out is I'll get a call from 4 different people, all thinking they have the same job, this big monster whale of a job. They all 4 think they got it, but nobody has it. So, or which only one of them has it. And then people will pass on some other things. If they are sitting there waiting for a big job, no, I'm waiting on this one because so-and-so from so-and-so called me and said he's waiting to pull the trigger. Well, he's just putting everything on reserve. Everybody's trying to put positions in place, and it really is a game. And I think everyone needs to be cognizant of it's a chess match. Everyone's trying to gobble up resources because once boots get in the mud, it's assholes and elbows. And I know, again, I don't know who here. I think Gene's on the call, Gene Axelrod. There's some guys on here that have done these big storms, and you know what it's like. But that first frenzy, that first wave of jobs to go is just everybody's trying to recoup that mobilization money. So the guy sitting outside of town, I'm sorry you went so early. I think a lot of people here said, don't go yet. Don't go early. Don't go so quick. There won't be enough reward to compensate you for sitting in a hotel and having your guys and stressing over it or whatever. It was always going to be Thursday or Friday before it really made a ton of sense. But you know what? Past that, I'm not here to beat up anybody for going. But I am just saying, just be cautious. Don't get aligned with the wrong. Don't become a second and third tier sub, because the dilution rate of what you're going to make is going to be tiny, and you will be the last one to get paid. And if they get shorted by an adjuster and a carrier or a end user, believe me, the last guy on the totem pole is going to be the one that gets the shaft. So just be cautious. Know what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do, and set some realistic goals on, am I here because of labor? Do I want to just supply my guys, or am I wanting to rent my equipment, or what? Or am I consultant? Some people just say, hey, I just want to consult. I want to help guys that don't know what they're doing. And then just stick in that lane and then find people. I had a guy in California said, should I go or should I not go? This was Sunday. And I said, what's your gut tell you? He says, well, I don't know if I can afford to go. I said, the answer is no. But advertise yourself. We have this great thing called Facebook. We have social media. If you put yourself out there, people know who you are. And I think Andy put together a great little list. Somebody's going to grab that list and be looking for resources. They already are. Wait for an invite. Have somebody pay for your mobilization. Get a ticket paved out there. But be a little cautious. Either go broke quick by going now or go broke slower by waiting at home. But either way, just pick the right team to be on. So that's my little spiel about the guys that are sitting outside of town. Any questions or anybody argue with me? I may be wrong, but
I think Mike had a question. He's got his hand up, so let's see if he's got a question.
Mike
You
Miller?
there, Mike? Yeah.
Yeah, here in Michigan, we actually have one of the largest Surf Pro Extreme teams. Randy and Mike, those guys do a nice job.
Yeah, I know them. I know them well.
Yes, and so we go through there and we shoot the shit and stuff like that. But what they have, they never leave their area totally void of services. Yes, our volume picks up when they leave. When they went to Tennessee, things like that. But what they have behind them that we don't have as independents is they have that strong national franchise background. I know that Mike or Randy Miller can get on the phone, make a phone call, and he can have 10 surf pros down there to help him out with whatever it is. And that's kind of what we lack as independents. However, if we group together, we can become our own type of franchise, so to speak, which is what I'm kind of seeing right now is that groups are getting together. Andy's got a nice little thing on Facebook. Hey, if you're down there, let's hook up, let's get together. You get 4, 5, 6 different groups together, then you guys are as strong as some of those national franchises. You might think a little bit different. You don't have the national marketing, but you do have the resources and the tenacity to get the job done.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in on that. That list, it just came as a reaction to the posts that we're posting. And instead of posting something on a Facebook group and then having it buried 10 minutes later because 3 other people posted, if we would use that document as a living document and everyone jumps on that thing, I think, Mike, you're exactly right. We could be our own network. We could you put vendors out there, and then what I was thinking about today is let's put another tab on there. Let's put a tab on there for folks to put clients that they can't service. Hey, we saw Mr. and Mrs. Jones, but we are booked. We can't do it. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, here's their contact information. Here's what they need. Here's their insurance company. We could start sharing leads with that, just with that simple document. Go ahead.
Well, to that same extent, Andy, you get somebody that gets a nice commercial loss. They get a school. They get some type of municipal building or whatever. Hey, can you do it? We want our members to be able to say, yes, we can do that. And then he knows, they know, she knows that, hey, I make 4 phone calls and I got people that are going to rally around me to get this done. We already know that there's no money in doing Mr. and Mrs. Smith's house down the road because there is no flood insurance. There is no money there. But if there's a commercial building,
right,
we can go through there, group together and get it done, and if we follow the code of ethics that we have, fair billing, what? 3 owners get together, you have a 10-minute conversation. We're going to do this, this, and this. Everybody agree? Okay, great. Here's how we're going to split this. Here's how we're going to do it. And just do it. And there's so many intelligent individuals in our group that I don't think that would be more than a 10 to 15-minute meeting, period.
No, you're exactly right. So, hey, Klark, could you talk about the life cycle of this thing? We're talking $40 billion, and this thing keeps ticking. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if next week this is a $50 billion thing. Tell me about the life cycle. We are really early now. I mean, we don't even know what we don't know about this storm and the damage that's happened. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself again. But why don't you talk about that?
Okay, I'll talk about that. But yeah, I'm going to come back, Mike. I got something to add. I'm actually just sitting here chewing around my mouth, and it's not. I don't want to speak out of turn from what I know and disrupt any. But I have a unique relationship with Surf Pro Extreme teams, and I want to talk about that. They're a great group of guys. They really are. But I'll come back to that. So the life cycle of this is, again, it's going to come in phases. It's going to come in waves. Katrina was the same way. Sandy was the same way. I don't know who was in Nashville for the floods there. It's just kind of the same thing. It is. It's there's so much more commercial property. If this storm would have hit Myrtle Beach, this is not the same storm. This is a lot of water in an area and restaurants, malls. We're talking a population of Houston, $4 to $6 million. So a ton of commercial. Yes, there's a lot of residential. It's been said over and over, maybe 20% are covered. I don't know how true that is or not. I know people that lost their house and they had flood insurance. I have family and friends. We have, between my wife and I, we have 8 people we know that lost everything they've got, and now, but some of them have insurance. So I don't know. I'm not going to beat up on policies or anything like that. It is what it is. It's a bunch of little stuff, and it's just a bunch of big stuff, and that's going to be gobbled up by the big guys. I mean, they've been. Cotton is based in Houston. Interstate's based in Fort Worth. BMS Cat. Those companies have been building these relationships along that Texas coast for 10, 15, 12 years. Plus, they did this in Allison. Many people are going to be working back on the same properties that they did 15 years ago. And that's just how it is. And a big, major Simon Properties is not going to hire Klark Brown with Michael and Son Restoration because they just know that we can't. So those companies are going to be not going after the middle-sized companies are going to be gobbling up those size losses. This is unprecedented. It is maybe 40 billion is a shy number. I don't know. There are universities.
You're breaking up again,
University
Clark.
of Houston. Rice is in Jersey Village, Houston. That was underwater. Still bad?
It's spotty.
How about that?
Yeah. No, it's not very good either.
Damn it. I got all my bars. Well, somebody take over.
So I think back to some of the stuff Clark was saying. There's a lot of stuff that's going on right now that a lot of people, like a lot of the bigger guys, already have those relationships and have had them for years and years. And this is me speaking from someone that used to work for Belfour. A lot of those bigger jobs are pre-sold before anything ever happens. So it's not like, Belfour's sitting around waiting on something to happen and then they go knocking on doors. A lot of these people, like Clark was saying, have relationships and retainers and contracts and, agreed pricing and stuff before anything ever happens and are already on a program to take over these losses and have, a protocol in place before anything ever happens. So a lot of this stuff is already pre-sold, and it's not stuff that you can just walk up and get. But I think Clark's back. We'll let him speak to that a little more.
Yeah, I'm back. How's that?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so yeah, you said it, Drew. There's no magic number. I've seen medium-sized companies become large companies from storms by being, good leadership, smart decisions, weathering the storm, sticking it out. I've seen some, medium companies go bankrupt. Yes, there are people still not paid from Sandy. Again, I just say pick the right teams. Listen to these conversations and do your due diligence and check references and ask other people in the industry. Say, hey, has anybody ever heard of ATI Restoration? Oh yeah, they're solid. Okay, well you can probably take a ringer and they're okay, and don't sell yourself short and agree to it. But I just say make good decisions.
So what am I? Let me reiterate what I think I'm hearing here. Yeah, we all know that the big stuff is pre-sold. So what does that mean for a mid-sized guy or a small guy that's in the area? Does that mean he needs to go become a sub of one of these big guys, or become a sub of a mid-tier company? because he's not going to be able to
don't
go
become a snake.
find the jobs. What's that mean?
I can speak from my personal experience as a business owner now that me subbing work from a larger company on stuff that's not in their area has worked out very well for me.
Right.
Right,
And
because
that
they don't
same
have
those
they just need the reach, right? They need to be
Yeah,
able to
so
get the reach through you.
I mean, I'm working on a $300,000 job in Atlanta right now from a company that's advertises as a national company but doesn't have an office in Atlanta. So,
Yep.
um, and it works out very well for me. And I just structure myself to protect myself in my payment terms. I get X
So-
amount up front, and then it works out great. And the money's guaranteed. You don't have to go chasing it. You send them an invoice, and it's net 30, and I get paid. You know what I mean? So it takes a lot of the worrying about getting money from people and licensing and all that stuff out of the equation, because you go work for a company that's already in Texas, tell them what you'll do your daily rate for, or whatever you're going to do, and they send you jobs and you do the work and they pay you. I mean,
Yeah,
personally, it's worked out good for me.
I agree with Drew, and I'll tell you the extension from that. Make those relationships. Don't be afraid to be a sub for a guy, because there'll become a point you will work on a. I got a specific story. There's a guy that worked for me, under me at Interstate. I couldn't get to a certain town that had just think like Bally's Fitness is a large fitness, big place.
Yep.
He did that job for me as a sub. We've got whatever, a couple of points off of it. He ended up making such a great impression that became his account. Was it really a deal breaker for us? Well, there's a little bit of sour grapes. We never worked with that guy again, but he met the adjuster, and I think that adjuster ended up giving him a lot of work in the future. So there's opportunity to use a large contractor, because they all used to be small. Don't steal their customers, but if you find other opportunities that spin off from that, take them, because that's how things grow.
How do
They'll be
you bill that, Clark? You guys do it like as a percentage of the job? You have, and even you, Drew, do you do that as a price list to say, hey, as a sub, I'll do this, provide X, Y for a certain amount? How
So
do you guys?
the way I'm doing it now, I'm working on a construction project, and obviously I know that as on a large construction job like that, I've written those estimates before and I know where the money's at. So with my local sub base on a large volume job, I know where I can squeeze all the money out of the construction and still make good margin on it. So I basically just turned in a bid, not even an Xactimate bid, just a drywall, trim, paint, blah blah blah, lump sum number bid, and said this is what I'll do the job for, and they accepted it. But on a mitigation type thing, you have to understand those larger companies are billing T&M most of the time. So their rate sheet is going to be considerably different than what you would bill Xactimate. So most of the time you can bill Xactimate rates to them and they'll just put it in their T&M program. They make their margin. You get paid what you would typically bill if you're at home anyway, but you have a whole lot of volume and it works out good.
So they're just adding your billing into their T&M estimate then?
They're just billing whatever they bill, and they pay you what you bill. I mean, they're going to want to know what you're going to bill up front. They might say Xactimate minus 10 or something, but you negotiate that up front. You either give them a price list, or you say I'll do Xactimate minus 10, or whatever you want to do, and then you just bill it to them, and however they bill it, they bill it.
Yeah, I'll talk about the T&M wise. Let's use some real numbers here. Is that Mike? Is that who's talking, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, let's say Mike. So they have published rates for a project manager is 95, a supervisor is 55 an hour per guy. General labor is anywhere between, depending on the part of the country, is 25, and depending on the client, 25 to 32.
Cheap.
25 is cheap. 32 might be sometimes you get 34. So you may go in and say, listen, we as my company, Mike Bellow Incorporated, my general labor, I'll do it for 21, 22, 20, whatever it is, because you're paying your guy whatever. So they're willing to take that, but they're going to want you to fill out their daily crew sheets and keep up with how many guys did you have, how many hours, what their names, have them sign in. Did you use some of your tools or your materials, or are you using theirs? Just did you use some fans and dehumidifiers? If they're Their scheduled rate is $30 a day for an air mover. They may ask you to do yours for $22.50. They're making some points off of it, and that's just how it works. They're not looking
You're cutting in and out again, Clark.
rich, but also to keep it in something in house. And really, it's
Yeah,
still
you
bad.
are. Well, it is
Golly.
when you start talking. It is when you start talking fast.
Okay, I'll slow
Yeah.
down.
Much better, Clark. Way to go, buddy.
Thank
No,
you.
I think to what Clark's saying too, like even if you want to go out there and get jobs, if you can go out there and get your mobilization costs and some of your, you're going to break even on doing some sub jobs from another company, and you take a salesperson with you while you're running those jobs and your guys are running those jobs, you have your salesperson go out and hit up the 4 and 5, small strip mall or whatever, and say, hey, I have the equipment, and manpower here, let me come help you, type thing. It's a way to get your foot in the door to go market to other stuff without going out there on a wing and a prayer. That was going to be my approach, and I have that contact, and they've asked me to come. It's not beneficial for me to do that, especially with the storm coming my neck of the woods now, right? So what's to say that the stuff that's happening in Texas on a much smaller scale doesn't come over towards, Alabama, Louisiana, and Florida, and everybody's gone, and then, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Let me add something, and you're right. That storm is actually coming up right up through Tennessee, West Virginia, and Virginia, and I've already started planting the seed. And because what's on the topic of everybody's mind right now in the media? The storm. So it's relevant for me to hit my 2,600 contacts of property managers on a mass blitz email saying, listen, talking about preparedness. Let's don't get caught with our pants down. Let's blah, blah, blah. We're going to be here this weekend. We're going to be here Saturday and Sunday. I've got crews coming in. We're ready for blah, blah, blah. And that's going to return tens of thousands of dollars of jobs. I want to talk about a few things. I'm not going to stay on the phone too much longer. I'm going to get with my kids. But listen, the other thing that you learn from experience, and I want to kind of share this, there are some things that happen in a cat, and I think this might be something Andy would really want to talk about. In a cat, in a storm, in an area-wide disaster, the spike and increase in cost of goods and supplies and resources, supply and demand becomes what you used to get a roll of plastic for won't be. So as you're digging into, this is my scheduled rate per a roll of trash bags, you've got to be on top of that. You've got to be aware that might not be what you can buy it for. You might have a fuel contractor. You might be using Moffitt. I don't know who knows Roy and Rusty. They pretty much do fuel for a lot of people. That's going to become very expensive because everybody's kind of bidding on that. Although it's supposed to stay around the same price, they're going to be feeding the big jobs, the big boys. So you've got to just be really aware. Dumpsters turning them nearly fast. You're going to be pulling out material of buildings far quicker than you can put it into dumpsters. And you just need to have relationships, and you need to know that those dumpsters are going to get more expensive. Their trip charges, their guys are working overtime delivering those things. Maybe they've listed the DOT policy cat fees. Everybody's going to have tacking on thing, right? Drew, did you ever do that? You had a cat server. Let me slow down.
yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm breaking up. But you have people working back office, especially if you're.
Yeah, what I hear is there's definitely storms. There's demand surge. There's you've got to price that in, especially when you get into repairs. But also, you can't be beholden to a price list that's outdated because your fuel costs doubled. So don't be afraid to raise that up. Hey, Clark, did you cover pretty much what you wanted to cover?
He gone.
He's gone. All right.
Yeah.
Whitney, you just came in. I know you're in theater. Why don't you give us an idea of what you're seeing there, what the mood is, what you're preparing to do when the water finally does recede, and give us a little insight to what it's like to be there.
I'm actually leaving tomorrow But nonetheless, we got about 4 or 5 guys on the ground right now, so I'm getting updates every day. From what I understand, the water is going to be going down slowly in the areas that it already has, but at the same time, they're going to be releasing the water from the levees that are collecting water as the rain goes away to try to drain those areas just in case any more rain comes. So with that, there's going to be a couple more days of drainage that occurred. The biggest thing right now that everybody just has to do it.
Where'd you go?
Guys, I can't.
I don't know,
I came
man.
back, but I'm not going to talk. I'm going to get off the phone, guys. I can't keep the signal.
I think it's the way they're calling in, maybe, that it's causing. Sorry, guys, this is Gene Axelrod. I didn't mean to barge in. Maybe it's the way they're calling in, because I saw there were several options. I just dialed in a local number that was spat out to me.
Yeah, Clark has called in both ways, and it's still not working out very well for him.
It could be. All right. Well, let's.
I think
let's
Whitney
wrap
left.
it up. Yeah, it sounds like Whitney left. Hey, I appreciate you guys coming on the call. Let's continue the conversation offline. We'll start another thread on the Facebook page, and we're going to plan on doing this again every Wednesday, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, and we'll go from there. Unless someone has something really burning a hole in their heart they want to say, I'll pause and wait.
Well, it's a good time for everybody to get introduced. Again, my name's Gene Axelrod. I'm relatively new to your group. It's been very informative and interesting to hear everybody speak. Thank you, and definitely look forward to being a part of it. I agree with most of the things you say in your principles, and look forward to speaking and hearing from you gentlemen again.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for chiming in. Anybody else? Well, alrighty then. This will be live as soon as I can download it and upload it and do that. But otherwise, you guys know how to get a hold of me. You know how to get a hold of Clark. You know how to get a hold of most people in the group. And don't be afraid to reach out. The only dumb question is the one you don't ask. Thanks, guys.
All right. Good night. God bless.